Liverpool are struggling big time in the Premier League this season under manager Jürgen Klopp, and after dominating for years, the club suddenly finds themselves in a bit of a crisis. Not only do the owners want to sell the club, but the team is also far behind the top four in the Premier League. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing what happened to Jürgen Klopp's Liverpool and exactly why they're struggling. To properly explain some of the difficulties in the Liverpool team this season, we do need to take a look back at what made Jürgen Klopp's team dominate the European football scene for several years. Whenever Klopp was taking over for Brendan Rodgers in Liverpool in 2015, the squad was quite different from the team we know today. Players like Steven Gerrard and Raheem Sterling had already left the club months prior. On top of that, Klopp's first 11 in his debut match is funny to look back at. I mean, seriously, there was Klein, Skrtel, Sacco, and Moriano. Not exactly the defensive champions, right? Well, Klopp arrived with a strong CV from Dortmund, and everyone seemed to love his charismatic behavior. Heck, they even called him the normal one in his first press conference, with a clever reference to Jose Mourinho's introduction in 2004 as the special one. However, the team that he took over from Rodgers was not strong enough to save the season, and Liverpool only managed 8th place in the league. However, he did manage to qualify Liverpool for 2 finals in his first season, which they lost. The League Cup final, where they lost to Manchester City on penalties, and the Europa League final against Sevilla. The following season, Liverpool managed to secure Champions League football by being able to reach the top 4 in the Premier League. This was the start of Liverpool's golden years under Jürgen, with 3 Championship League finals where they finally were able to lift the trophy once. And of course, winning the Premier League with 99 points in 2020. So, here's 3 main characteristics that have made Liverpool successful under Klopp. A clear identity. Liverpool under Jürgen Klopp has been easy to recognize. Ralf Rangnick, the godfather of gegenpressing and one of Klopp's idols, had described Liverpool's football as quote-unquote heavy metal football. And when you think about it, that's actually a pretty good description. High intensity, both in attack and defense, never giving the opponent a moment to breathe, and even in his first game away at Tottenham, the team's numbers regarding running distance and sprints had increased drastically. Klopp wanted his team to run and fight in every single match, setting his team structure up for a high number of ball recoveries every match, and as close to the opponent's goal as humanly possible. His style had become more and more visible, and fans loved it. Klopp had started to build a culture of hard-working teams that the fans could actually relate to. Signings and man management. With a clear structure, a high-intensity style, and a reborn group mentality, it became pretty easy for new players to perform right away in the Liverpool team. Klopp didn't spend any big money in his first years, but most of the transfers became successful right away. Both pundits and fans alike had raised their eyebrows whenever Liverpool had signed players like Wijnaldum and Robertson from relegated teams, as well as Sadio Mane from Southampton and Mohamed Salah from Roma. Klopp also ended up transforming Firmino into a striker, and when all the new signings worked out, he suddenly had the firepower he needed to reach new heights. All of them had added desperately needed quality to the squad, and Salah's impact was extreme to say the least. In the years before his arrival, Liverpool struggled to have a top scorer with more than 15 goals in all their competitions. Salah, on the other hand, had actually finished his first season with 44 goals in all competitions. Klopp's attacking team finally had a player to finish off the chances they created. Meanwhile, the team was coming together elsewhere too. Klopp had for a long time talked about his vision for the modern fullback. In 2016, he said, quote, "Fullback is a wonderful position because you are always involved. They're now more like midfield players. They play in half spaces, they play really high, they're winners sometimes, end quote. The year after this interview, Liverpool lined up with Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andrew Robertson for the first time. The draw against Burnley that day was not impressive, but hey, Liverpool produced 35 shots and Klopp was happy with the performance, mostly because of his new fullback's impact. And when we do look back at their development under Klopp, it's really astonishing. Alexander-Arnold in particular has actually provided a record number of assists, but Robertson wasn't far behind either. However, the best signing of all was not a cheap signing whatsoever, but a missing piece in Liverpool's team. Klopp bought center back Virgil van Dijk from Southampton back in January 2018, which became one of the biggest turning points for Klopp's Liverpool, and the team carried on all the way to the Champions League final the same season. Liverpool did end up losing to Real Madrid, and the lack of a world-class goalkeeper and defensive midfielder did become visible. And yet again, Liverpool struck gold whenever they picked up Brazilian international Alisson in the summer of 2018, as well as Fabinho from Monaco. The winning machine was complete, and Klopp never looked back. Innovation and consistency. Klopp knew that the counter press that Liverpool was famous for wasn't enough to dominate Europe, so he started looking for marginal gains wherever he could find them. He did, for example, work with a throw-in coach. Klopp also ensured that his leaders in the team continued to develop and gave them a spotlight to shine. Who would have thought that Jordan Henderson would be a more successful captain than Steven Gerrard? Klopp's constant leadership in culture ended up providing the perfect environment for players to perform in the red part of Liverpool, with freedom to express themselves whenever the opportunity was right. I mean, seriously, who's ever going to forget Alexander-Arnold's quickly taken corner against Barcelona, which was the key point of their Champions League run? However, this season, things appear to have changed, and we'll try to take you through the downfall of Klopp's Liverpool and maybe, just maybe, find the reason behind it. It's not even been a year since Liverpool secured a place in the latest Champions League final, which they lost again to Real Madrid. And even since then, Sadio Mane has left the club. It would end up coming to show that the Senegal international wasn't the easiest to replace, as Darwin Núñez has only impressed with his enormous number of missing big chances. He's also so far made Varner look like a clinical striker, but there's more to Liverpool's struggles, so we're going to try to summarize them. Structure and relations. Not only did Liverpool lose a great attacking force in Mane, but they also lost one of the best pressing players in the Premier League. Whereas Liverpool had a clear and strict structure in Klopp's early days, they've started to become more flexible in recent seasons. And that's mostly because of Mane, Salah, and Firmino's ability to read situations and times whenever in press. On top of that, Liverpool have often dominated possession so much so and counter-pressed so well that their structure has been more fluent as a result. It's obvious that a new Liverpool lineup is struggling with their counter-press and structure this season. A number of teams have had a much higher press intensity than Liverpool, and whenever the counter-press fails, they're forced to drop deeper into the field as well. And when Liverpool pushes up their high line anyways, and then fail with their counter-pressing, they're extremely vulnerable to counterattacks. Whenever we look at the expected goals conceded, it is clear that goalkeeper Alisson carries Liverpool away from an even worse position in this table. Liverpool should be conceding 7 goals more than they actually are, and it doesn't help either that the team is poor in possession, struggling to break down a low block defense. Player performances. It would be an understatement to claim that several of Liverpool's key players are underperforming this season. Mohamed Salah has suddenly stopped scoring goals for fun, Trent Alexander-Arnold has stopped defending, Thiago looks misplaced, Fabinho hasn't been able to fix the pressing problems, and even Núñez has almost missed every single big chance the team has created for him. The will and hunger that Klopp's team has been known for is nowhere to be found this season. Some of the images of Liverpool's defending is scary to look at, and some fans are even questioning if Alexander-Arnold will ever become a great right back again. His reputation for not being able to defend ends up putting him far behind his competitors for a place in the England national team. The lack of structure, along with a poor player performance against Brighton in January, has made Jürgen Klopp so disappointed that he even said in the post-match interview, quote, "I can't remember to have ever played a worse match. I can't remember one single good period," end quote. Injuries. No, we can't look away from the injuries either. Although Liverpool has had problems with structure and intensity, they've also had huge injury problems. With several injuries to players like Diaz, Van Dijk, Firmino, Nunez, and Jota, Liverpool have had to put their trust in young players like Elliot, Gomez, and Carvalho. These injury problems would make any team struggle, and Klopp's process of incorporating new players has become more difficult than anticipated. So, what's Klopp and Liverpool going to do now? Well, we did mention it earlier about Manchester United and Arsenal's turnaround on this channel, and it's no doubt that Liverpool will also need a turnaround, and fast, mind you. The top four seems to become more and more difficult to catch up with. But what do you guys think is Liverpool's biggest problem, and how do you think they should fix it? Let us know in the comment section down below, and if you want to learn how Manchester United are climbing their way back to the top of the English Football League, check this out in the next video. Plus, if you enjoyed this video, give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you want more content just like this, and don't forget to ding that notification bell so that way you don't miss out on any more content updates from us.